Hello everyone, I'm saying you hello this time from Austria, Schladming area. For starters, my name is Tomas Bumbulevičius, aka Tom10. I'm from Lithuania and I started MTB racing more than 1 year ago. Who could have thought that 1 year afterwards I'll be standing at the starting line of Alpentour Trophy, 4 days MTB Stage Race? Well, at least I didn't even dare to wish for such experience 1 year ago, but that just showcases how fast and dynamic the life can be if you just invest some of your time and try to achieve things. So here I am, waiting for the start to hit the stage one. Actually, I arrived to Schladming a bit more than 1 week ago before the start, just to get a sense what might be waiting for me. And it almost finished before the start began because I felt badly on the Planai Bikepark 1 week before the start. Thankfully, no broken bones, just a lot of wounds, etc. But wounds heals and experiences, they are to learn something new. And you can see that the start was at the city center of Schladming. We were moving in a neutral start for a few kilometers before the actual start began, and I tried to get in front as much as possible because I came to the gate a bit too late. And here was my number one out of a lot of mistakes during the day, where I thought that the pathway will go around the actual road, but it went to the right, and you can calculate how many participants I let in front do that mistake. But that just trying and learning something is a good way of doing things. And here I again try to get as much as possible to the front. Thank you. The neutral start was something new for me, and especially because we were going in narrow streets. You had to be very precautious in order not to hit objects on the side, because everyone's moving into a narrow corridor, and if you try to go on the side, there are lots of objects nearby, so you have to be precautious. But it was like 2 kilometers in the streets or similar amount, and then we were towards the first uphill, and then we started pushing. So we were going at the first uphill of the day, and this lady was very angry that I overtook her from the right. Not sure of the reasons, but sorry about that. I tried to maintain the speed of the group so that I wouldn't be left behind, and I knew that upcoming there will be a single track. We were moving quite slow on this double track. Some guys went in the middle, and I thought that maybe I will find a new way on this road. And you can see that it was oh no moment, because I noticed that I'm going upwards and compared to the whole pack going on the left. But finally I managed to go into the track again, and thanks for those who allowed me to do that, and sorry for those which I bothered by this move. And why I did that is because I knew that upcoming will be a single track, and it will be very difficult if guys start stopping by, and we will just have to walk on the foot. But that sense of walking in the beginning of the course is completely different than you just get used to on casual marathon XC racing, because you don't want to get off the bike in the beginning of a trail. But in stage race, I guess it's a different story. But still, a few seconds shaved, and that's good. Here was the first kind of downhill of the day on the gravel road, and it was very loose gravel, and you will see that in the front some guys almost didn't fit in the track. So it's also great in such cases to have someone in front you could follow, and you will know that if they made some mistake, you can readjust before you are making the same mistake on your own. So we are just coasting down 0 watts. You just try to brake sometimes and go down. At least in the first part of the day, the easiest thing for me was going uphill on technical sections where are roots, etc. Maybe it's because I put not too much pressure to the tires, but while some other guys were slipping and sliding and going off the bike and going on their foot, in most cases I managed to keep on the bike and go up successfully. Definitely not in all the cases, but it was probably the best and easiest thing to do. Easiest in relative terms, but in general it was something which I was sometimes proud of, what I couldn't say about going down. As you already know by now, after every day's stage I made some introduction and recap cool down session in the balcony, because I know that after the race immediately there are different thoughts when you were just looking at it few days after. So that's why I made those commentaries. Actually, I thought that maybe I could upload them after the race happened, but I just was too exhausted to.
Nice name, Bravo.
It's spelled wrongly. It's actually Bavo.
Nice. Anyways, Bravo sounds cooler.
Funny moment of the day was when I met a guy from Belgium. His bib number is 280, and actually his name, well, maybe I should say it, his name was written on the bib as Bravo. So I said, hey Bravo, nice name. And apparently his name is Bavo, but they just made a typo. And it seems like Bravo is doing great with his new name. So bravo for him, and bravo for everyone for finishing today's stage. So yeah, I was not able to upload those videos after every stage. But yeah, I decided to better rest than spend time on editing. But next time, if I am going to participate in stage race, I'm sure that I will plan things a bit better up front, and chances are high that I could do that all on my own on the race day. And we can see that again, if you see that someone goes off the bike up front, that means chances are high that you will have to do that the same on your own. And you could technically try to attack those, but then there are such small gaps between the riders. Sooner or later you will reach the point where someone is walking, and you will have on such terrain you would have no other option as to just go off a bike yourself as well. And during the day I always try to motivate myself saying that, hey, it's not easier to walk without being on the bike. So we climbed for a limited amount of time, and you can see at the top right corner I added some different statistics which I haven't added in the past, which relates to elevation gain and elevation lost. So you can see that here we are already almost 1 kilometer elevation gain in our backpack. What was devastating is how e-bikes overtake you like it doesn't need any effort at all, and before they get in front of you, you don't know whether it's e-bike or not, and you just hear that someone just adding extra gear, and you just hear them pedaling, and you just believe that, all right, so is someone going to overtake me on this uphill in that type of speed? But then you notice it's an e-bike, and that's fine. This was a very, very beautiful climb uphill, and it was, as much as it was beautiful, it was difficult as well. So even though the grade shows something around 7 degrees, I believe that in some sections it was a lot steeper. But basically the reason why the grade doesn't always account to the actual terrain is because it's just approximation of movement, and it takes your speed, it takes your distance throughout the time, and just estimates it. So it's not always actual. This was the first more technical downhill, and the thing here is that I noticed guys in front very complicated going on those downhills, so I thought that I might better go off the bike, and you can see that the one on the left already straightened his handlebars, so that means he went probably off the bike, not on its own way. Yeah, so that was some photos. Actually they were a bit off time, but I might did something wrong during the editing. And you can see that whenever I went off the bike on my foot, there are a lot of guys who already managed to pass me by. So we are already 1 kilometer up and so we are already 1 kilometer up and only 300 meters down, which means we are going to start descending now. And as much as it looks steep here, it's 2 times steeper in reality. That edge of on the side is not the most exciting one, but you just try to survive in my case. I had squeaking a lot of noisy braking during these days, and even though I tried to clean everything to make it dust free, as well as scratch a bit of brake disc, the pads are resin, so I'm not really sure why it was so loud. If you know, you can definitely drop a comment if you know any tips or tricks how to avoid such annoying braking. I would appreciate that a lot. I actually tried a lot of things, but most of them didn't work at all. And here, through the camera, it doesn't actually portray that stoneness and steepness of the shot. And it looks like you could start moving a bit faster, but then there are a lot of rocks and stones and you just don't want to hit one and go over the bars. Here I might get a speed ticket for speeding because it was more than 65, I guess.
Let's go.
Yeah, so the data at some point a bit lags behind, but in general it was a pretty good estimation of how things are going. So you can see we here are starting to climb on this way. This was very difficult climb because it was steep, it was rooty, and I had to tell to myself that it's not easier to go on the foot. And once you hit the highest point of the mountain, you expect to have some descent, but that's not always the case. Descents are always there, but in not all the cases they are rideable for me. And it was a tough decision which way to go. I decided this one, and I almost went over the bars. And at that moment when it almost happened, I decided that, well, my feet and legs rested a bit during the day, so I might get off the bike and walk for a hike. But yeah, once those technical sections end, there are some gravel double tracks, and on those you can fly as much as you want, as much as you dare. Here will be mistake number end of the day. I had 2 bottles, and for some reason I decided that 30 kilometers left I will be good with one, because here I got a full bottle of water, and then I knew that 10 kilometers afterwards there will be another food point, so I would just replenish the liquids and it will be all fine. We will see how it goes. So the stage on this day had almost 3,000 meters of elevation, and we are more than half already. This was yet another among a lot of other climbs on steep section, and you kind of see that it's not going to be too long in the distance, but it's enough length in order to make you exhausted and think about what are you doing here. So I also added those data about laps, and you can see that it showcases averages and maximums throughout the 5 kilometers distance. And the reason why I added this part is that it was kind of simple from the first side, but the guy in front was flying actually. And what goes up must come down, of course. And here we started the descending again on the trail. It was beautiful scenery now as I have an opportunity to look at it. But talking about how it was, we will see in a moment. It doesn't help when you see someone up front and clipping pedals, because it just signifies that something sketchy might be up front, and you just have to take extra care for that section. The funny thing is that through the camera it looks, well, it doesn't look very easy, but it looks a lot easier than it was in reality. And actually it was very complex to ride closer to the other riders, because anytime something happens for him, that's going to happen for you as well. So that's why I just passed by, allowed to pass me by for this guy, but we will see how it goes. Was it that steep? Yes, that was. So you can feel the tension building up. Yeah, so that's in front, that's the guy which I passed by. And because someone blocked him in front, he had to stop the same way I did. But actually, trying to stop here, I put a lot of effort on my left leg, and the cramp started very hardly on that quad, because I put all the body weight on one leg.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And here began the hardest moment of the day for me on this stage. It was more than 500 meters climb, and yeah, doesn't look very suspicious, but keep in mind we are already 3 hours and a half on the track, and probably that's already the longest distance, and the longest, not the distance, but the longest time I spent during the race on the course. That grass, that high temperature, and 4 hours on the bike didn't help me here at all. In general, it was going really well for like 3 hours, up to the Pichl, or similar set. where we had to climb 500 meters or so, maybe a bit less. And at that moment, it started to get very hard for me, even though others were suffering as well. But at least from the side, it looked like the story is a lot worse for me than for them. And also, I finished all my liquids. So thanks for the guy whose number was 201, if I'm not mistaken, who helped me and gave a sip of his drink. So thanks a lot, man. And from that point, I was just trying to survive um, up to the water section, if it need to be, maybe to drink from the river or whatever. There were various thoughts in my mind, but apparently there was one other food point where I supplemented my liquids once again, and even though not in a full extent, my powers returned and I was able to finish it. So the hardest moment continues, and we are on the climb, which is enormously steep, and we're already tired. It's very hot here, so everything is in all-inclusive package. And again, I try to say to myself that it's not easier to climb on the foot. You have to stay on the bike, you have to go. But you can see it's not that easy. And I already failed with my inner thoughts. But yeah, I just felt that it's not going to end up well if I'm going to ride again. I was constantly checking how much climbing is left, so you can have seen that it was red uphill, and it was just never ending. Finally, we finished that amazing climb. It wasn't amazing actually, and we began to descend, and I knew this descent from a few days ago, and it wasn't anything special. You just have to make sure to choose a proper path, and that's it. But when you are 4 hours plus on the bike already, and you are in the condition I was, it was hard. But apparently I have survived it, and I knew that now it's going to be a bit more easier moment, and that was what I really needed. And finally we managed to reach the point where it was food point, so you could just take a drink, eat something, etc. I just supplied my bottles with water, actually sip some of cola, and you know, cola is an amazing drink for cyclists, so the powers got returned. This climb was second to last before the finish. Who participated in the race, I'm 100% sure that they will agree that it was a hell of a ride, because it's enormously hot from that grass, and you're just trying not to boil yourself, but it's not that easy. And the elevation, it was from 6 to 12 grades, something like that. The finish of the stage was in Planai Bikepark. Actually, 3 or 4 days finishes will be there, and I very much hope for that during those days my skills will improve and I could go that downhill a bit faster, but at least this time I managed to go with around 5 minutes, and that is a pretty good number for me because in the past it was quite a lot slower. I tried a few times a few days ago. Other than that, I was really happy to go to the finish line on that stage one, and actually um, once you're going down and you know that the finish is 500 meters away, and you are going into downhill, it's very easy to dream on the thought of hitting that finish line and make a mistake. So I try to keep the focus and finish it with all body parts in place, which wasn't the case 1 week ago. So you can guess that I was not too confident going on the any of downhills after that crash, because I was overconfident on that crash, and I paid the price. Thankfully it was a very small one, and I managed to actually start in the race. So nothing very seriously happened for me, nor the bike, and a few scratches here and there, and I'm going down to the finish line of stage one. You can hear my brakes squeaking and all sorts of noise coming out of them, but I just try to take down the speeds in order to not make the mistake, which would be costly. And here my girlfriend recorded my finish, so probably I wasn't that much tired if I even made a jump through the finish. So yeah, that's funny. Not funny at all. So here it was, the finish of stage one. I managed to end up in 27th position out of something around 50 participants in my group, and then in 70, I guess, out of 200 in amateurs overall. So the position wasn't that much important. The importance was that I have survived. For our next day, I wish I would use liquids a lot more careful and don't make myself dehydrated during the day, and also probably it would be a good idea not to push in the beginning and not to go with the flow as other guys goes, and you just go a slightly more than you actually can, and then sooner or later you just receive consequences which are not very nice to experience. So these are things, and hopefully next day I can suggest for myself other lessons to learn and not the same one. So that's how stage one went through. I'm going to create similar videos for remaining days as well. That's the reason why I carried all that gear on my chest. So if you like the content of this kind, you can subscribe to the channel and you will get noticed about new videos coming in. I also have an idea of uploading full on board just for the sake of having it somewhere, but not really sure how much intimidating is to see someone climbing for 1 hour. But yeah, I will think about that and we'll make a decision later. So thanks for your time, and I hope to see you around.